Okay, so good afternoon, ma'am. For today, I am going to start my video discussion about 5 advantages of cultural relativism and 5 disadvantages of cultural relativism, the right moral codes in the Philippines which relates to cultural relativism, and the 5 wrong moral codes in the Philippines which relates to cultural relativism. Now let's start with the advantages of cultural relativism. The first one that I choose is it is a system which promotes cooperation. So in this scenario, we can value the strong band of humanity because it is promoting the cooperation, and the cooperation that comes from the society will push us to be more confident, and for me make us feel liable in every aspects that I wanted to do. And number 2, it creates a society where equality is possible. Yes, it's a socially acceptable way of accepting discrimination where no one says na pangit ka ayo siya kanang lagi na siya og nang, or even kanang nagasay og bad sa imuha kay, because the society itself is kanang creating the equality possible man, and also every tao in this scenario kay nagaset og boundaries between them, and kanang go with the flow lang without thinking na kanang naay nagahimantay sa imuha, kanang just like that. So mo na siya ang advantage sa kanang number 2 nga it creates a society where equality is possible. So number 3 kay people could pursue a genuine interest. So in our modern society kay if you have no money, then diha lang kataman, you can't go on enough kay you have your limitations, like kanang you can't afford to buy expensive things for yourself. Then the people must say sa imuha like maging kontento na lang ka. But in cultural relativism kay it encourages you to pursue or to go on, or what your interest is, and or what is your yearnings in life. So man siyang advantage sa kanang people can pursue a genuine interest in cultural relativism. Number 4 kay respect is encouraged in a system of cultural relativism. So it is encourages respect jud, then naga-promote siya ay naga-create siya og society. Ang society kay naga-create without judgment, then naga-promote pog equality, then naga-remove sa power of societal conditioning. Then easy lang pod pag-develop og personal moral norms. Excuse me ma'am, nananawag ma'am. Sorry ma'am, continue. Then easy lang pod naga-develop lang pod og personal moral norms based on societal norms, and helps to keep human culture relevant. So mo to siya the advantage sa encourage in a system of cultural relativism. The last one that I choose is it preserve human culture. Yes, naga-preserve siya og human culture because since it is presenting respect, then naga-encourage free from discrimination, and also many times the tradition of humanity are set aside so that a group set of standard can be appeased, or kanang ma-fulfill jud nila ang kanang human culture kay mo to nagapakita sila og respeto. So that's are the 5 advantages of relativism and cultural relativism. Number 2 questions we have: state the 5 disadvantages of cultural relativism and discuss each. So the first one that I choose in 5 disadvantages I have, it creates a system that is fueled by personal bias. Yes, people grow up in specific environments. So mo ni siya ang kanang disadvantage sa cultural relativism kay ang people can nag-grow in in the specific environments where different truths are taught. So lahi-lahi ang ginatudlo. Then some families are incredibly exclusive while others focus on racial bias. So ang uban kay naga-focus lang jud sila nga bias na siya bias. So mo na siya mga disadvantages. Then people will always follow their own moral codes and ethics at the expense of others in a society with the structures. So number 2 kay it would create chaos. Yes, it actually create chaos because anyone could harm any other person at any time. Then you could say that something from the start because you felt like it was the right thing to do. You could disobey any of the laws because you felt that they were unjustly applied. Then only the strongest would survive this type of situation. So pano siya ang disadvantage sa cultural relativism that brings it closer to an apocalyptic version of the future instead of something that is realistic. The number 3 kay it is an idea that is based on the perfection of humanity. Most people kay nag-agree na sila sa average person tries to do good things every day. Then the average individual would like to see everyone have the opportunity to pursue their dreams or goals in some way. So kung ma-relate na to siya sa disadvantage of cultural relativism o sa kanang advantage sa cultural relativism kaysa cultural relativism naga-promote siya og kanang equality og naga-promote siya og kanang cooperation, while the RIA kay naga-pursue their dreams or goals in some way kanang lahi-lahi og pamaagi kumbaga dili ta makaingon na ay unity. And in these concepts which create a temptation to follow the processes is defined by cultural relativism. Pero even doing define gyapon siya cultural relativism pero disadvantage siya sa humanity. Number 4 is it could promote a lack of diversity. So the only diversity that cultural relativism promote is the individual perspective. So diba interchange na pod nato siya kay diri sa kanang disadvantage is na ay individual perspective while sa advantage kay na ay unity na siya kanang then the only standards that people could follow in this scenario would be the ones that they set for themselves. Then the input read that each person will then pursue their own possession of strength, and it is impossible to create a society that is diverse when the emphasis on success is based on selfish accomplishment. So taay selfish accomplishment ang disadvantage sa kanang cultural relativism aning promote a lack of diversity. Number 5 is it draws people away from one another. Okay, there would be no guarantees in a society like this that you would ever be safe. Someone moral code could dictate that you need to die because that will help that person feel better. Although the theories suggest that it would embrace diversity, the reality is that people would isolate themselves as a way to protect their lives. So that is the disadvantage. So kung ma-compare na ako para sa akong self kay kanang disadvantage because giingon diri kay the people would isolate themselves as a way to protect their lives. So, lahi siya sa kanang napili na ko na advantages sa cultural relativism where I can find peace, hope, and happiness as long as the unity. Next is number 3 question kay relate the 5 moral codes in the Philippines which relates the cultural relativisms. So actually ma'am naglibog ko ma'am kung unsa tong 5 ka kanang moral code pero ang nakita nako sa PowerPoint is kadtong female circumcision or genital mutilation, marriage of underage girls, infanticides, polygamy, og slavery. So mo lang to kung gitagaan o explanation ma'am. Female circumcision or genital mutilation kay in some cultures where women are viewed as property or as inferior to the men, then female genital mutilation is considered a way to promote virginity and marital fidelity because it usually makes sexual intercourse extremely painful. But in some culture, religion may play a part in this ritual, but female genital mutilation does not have any direct religious ties. The reason for a female genital mutilation are mainly cultural. So every culture has preserved as its own standards for acceptability and attractiveness. Next is marriage of underage girls. So, ang right moral codes in the Philippines sa marriage of underage girls kay, it's true that some of our ideas on morality are cultural, and that maybe culture even affects what a good system to have is. But in some places, younger marriage than the age we have it at generally may make more sense based on where they are in life. But we can still define and see that some practices are harmful or take it too far and are clearly cultural abuses. Well, it's not about comparing the correct and wrong morality. It's all about the so much better and for worse. Next is infanticides. Well, infanticides are definitely universal moral codes that underlie all the human cultures around the world. And most of the action that people take are not predicated on any underlying moral code. Humans are more creature of habit than they are of universal morality. So, in other country kay, especially China kay, it's okay lang sa ilahan na himuong food ang kanang mga fetus kay murag wala pod ang ilang way nga ma-preserve ang ilahang human culture. But in the Philippines, it is a big no jud. Next is polygamy. So, kani ma'am kay nangita ko ay nag-search sa Webster ma'am. Polygamy, based on Merriam-Webster Dictionary, polygamy is a marriage in which a spouse of either sex may have more than one mate at the same time. But a cultural relativist living in a non-Muslim countries would be against in polygamy, while cultural relativists in the Muslim countries would be legally acceptable by their culture. So, when a society deems that this is right, it will be accepted within the society. So, it's loud and clear that it is based in a human culture. The last one of right moral codes in the Philippines is slavery. At the same time, I say that there are moral dilemmas that cannot be easily resolved, and I really understand that sometimes there are girls are sold into sexual slavery because it is the only way that their parents can afford to feed the other children in the family, and in their own understanding, they are right since they are sustaining the needs of the family. But if you are a relativist, you might say that if it happens in a culture, then it's okay. If it is in the culture, but other relativists cannot pass because the other relativists cannot pass negative judgment on others, not even within the secret walls of their minds. So that is the 5 right moral codes in the Philippines which relates to cultural relativism. The last one question is number 4. Relate 5 wrong moral codes in the Philippines which relate to cultural relativism. So, kagaya na is right moral code. So, karon is the wrong. So, the wrong is the female circumcision or genital mutilation. Kay here in the Philippines, it is actually not normal or not to consider female circumcision. Yes, we do, pero dili siya sa genital area. Then, it's also a part of our culture. The number 2 is marriage of underage girls. In the Philippines, marrying of underage girls might be considered in other country but not here in the Philippines. Hence, we need to reach the age of 18 years old before we decided to get married or before the society allows for us to do that. Next is infanticide. It is actually killing a fetus is very wrong here in the Philippines. But in other hand, it's actually a culture in some other countries. They allowed infanticides because that's the way that they are preserving their human culture. Next, we have polygamy. Okay, when you are married here in the Philippines, then you are entitled with one wife only. That's it in Philippine culture. But in other country, mostly in Muslims, they allowed polygamy because for them it is not wrong or bad because they're still following their set of standard that under their culture. Next, the last one is slavery. I think that slavery is wrong because holding people in bondage is to treat people as animals and allows them no control over their lives. So in some other point, relativist says that slavery is wrong just in case the culture says it's wrong. So it's all about the preserving the human culture. And that's all, ma'am. Thank you.